Well, welcome to the Life Illuminated podcast. I'm Maggie Kelly, and today I have the pleasure and the honor of welcoming Donnie Boivin to our podcast. Good afternoon, Donnie.
Hey girl, how are you? I'm just excited to be here today.
Well, I'm glad to have you. And I'm looking forward to you sharing your story with our audience. So tell us a little bit about your journey that led you to where you are right now. That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. You better forewarn your audience because I'm a former Marine. So if salty language comes out, earmuffs, right? Um, you know, it's been one hell of a ride. And I can tell you that if I was 3 years old, I would have never planned my ride to end up or be where it is today. So, at a 50,000 foot view, went into the Marine Corps straight out of high school. It was literally like 2 or 3 days after I graduated, I was in Marine Corps boot camp. If you ask my parents, that saved my life. I probably would have done the prison route and everything else had I not gone that direction. But did my 4 years there and touched down in a few countries overseas. And I just realized that for me, the Marine Corps was not my forte. Uh, I went in with a chip on my shoulder, which they quickly knocked off. And then I realized that these people scream and yell at you and tell you what to do 24/7. That just wasn't my lifestyle. So got out of there, jumped into sales, and spent the last 19 years in the sales game being either a straight commission sales guy to the last 7. I was a national sales trainer. And then the latter part of last year, jumped out on my own to do motivational speaking, coaching, and now I'm a podcaster on top of all of it. So having a lot of fun, being crazy as hell, and learning along the way.
Well, what do you think might have been the defining moment that kind of shifted your thinking?
A couple of points in my life. The first one being when my father, at the age of 14, handed me the book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I love telling the story because Think and Grow Rich, the book itself, did nothing for me. I mean, there was some great insights in there, but wasn't a life changer. What it did do is when I finally read it at the age of 22, do the math, that's like 8 years later, I was out of the Marine Corps. I was in a sales career trying to figure out what to do, how to do sales and everything. And I found the book that my dad had given me. And when I started reading it, it got me down the path of looking at books and research and the likes. And it opened me up to a world of, people actually will teach you how to do sales. They'll teach you how to do money. They'll teach you how to get out of your own way. And I dove in that world head first. So that was kind of my first big aha that something different was going to happen with my life as I was on my journey. But my biggest transformation happened in the first part of September of last year. And to set the stage a little bit, I'm a national sales trainer. I travel the country, do training, running a 7-figure business, have a business partner, and I'm in discussions with this business partner to completely buy out his practice and allow him to retire. We were in, 5-year discussion that was the direction I was going to go. And I'm at an event that I'm actively prospecting at. So I have 40 or 50 CEOs, business owners sitting in this room that we're all listening to a keynote speaker speak, and we're there supposed to be learning. I'm in the crowd really there to prospect because it got me to sit with all these other CEOs, and I thought prime candidates for me to sell them sales training. And as I'm sitting in the room, half listening to the speaker, really more focused on the people in the room, the speaker asked a question of the room. I made an audible response and then went, oh shit, I said that out loud, and then tried to play it off. And here's what he said. Here's the question he asked. He asked, can you put your company before yourself? And I said, no. And then I went, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said that. And, I played it off, and I'm not sure I played it off very well. But as I, look back, later that afternoon, I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Because I was really thought that this was my plan, this was my lot, this is where I was going, this is what I was doing. And it was on the drive home that I realized that I'd spent my entire journey living other people's dreams. I'd sold millions of dollars over my career. I'd have done some phenomenal things, won awards, done all this stuff, but it was always for somebody else. And I started thinking about how much money I'd actually sold over the years and how much my take home was versus what the company's take home was, or my business partners was. And I thought, holy crap, I've made a lot of people rich. And I went home that night, looked at my wife and said, honey, I'm done. She goes, done with what? I'm like, I'm walking away from my partnership. And she said, no, no, what? And I said, yeah, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And she's like, do what anymore? And I said, I just can't make other people wealthy. I went that next week, gave my partner my notice, and literally 14 days later, I was out of that business.
Yeah, it's one thing to live your dreams, but it's another thing to make other people's dreams come true.
Absolutely. And you always hear that phrase thrown out there that if you're not living your dreams, you're living somebody else's. And I thought I was. I thought I was living my dreams, by having successful sales careers. I was speaking on stages. I was inspiring people. I was teaching people sales. I really thought that I was living my path. I mean, so much so that I was looking to buy the business to move on. And it all boiled down to my dream wasn't in that regards. It was really, my dreams are to inspire people, but not just in the sales realms. I want to reach people where they are, no matter what their walk in life is. And that's what I get to do now, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so tell me some tangible ways that you've seen that you've shifted and grown through this journey.
Yeah, the biggest shift is I now understand what being a business owner is. Is when, even though I'd had some smaller other businesses as part of my journey, I had a website company, I had a food blog that did very well for a while. Now that I'm a 100% dependent on my performance, and even though I was a straight commission sales guy, I still had a company to work for. So there was, always that chance, not that I ever used it, but always that chance that I could go to the company and say, hey, money's going to be short, money's going to, be tight. I'll make up the sales the next month. That was kind of always there as a safety net. But now that I have my own business, and the fact that I have no safety net, I didn't put anything. I mean, I walked away from a career in 14 days, and now that I'm a business owner, it's all on me. And I have a small farm that we maintain. We built a second house on a property for my mother-in-law to live on. We have all these critters and animals we take care of. So it's not just me that I'm supporting. It's a couple of households. So for me, it was the biggest shift of going from the mindset of somebody who just does a job very, very well to becoming a business owner was a dramatically impactful on my life, and how much I had to transition. And the biggest transitions have been, those particular mind shifts of what it takes to actually run a business. It's been wild.
But what's interesting is that it sounds like from what you just shared, you just kind of made that decision, and 14 days later, you are out on your ear with what? A plan? Did you have a plan, or did you just
No,
kind of
no, no. And trust me, I tell everybody all the time, do not go the way I went. 100%, 200%, 5 bajillion%, go go create something on the side before you jump in. The reason I did it the way I did it is there could be some perceived conflict of interest with my business partner, with what I'm doing now. Even though I'm not doing the sales game, people still ask me to speak on sales, but I'm not teaching sales. I'm not teaching sales training. I use sales as a part of my message of how do you get out of your own way in life and go for it. So I didn't want my business partner to feel like that I was stealing business from him or I was competing with him. So I didn't feel morally like I could go out and get speaking engagements that I was going to get paid for without sharing that money with him, because we were a partnership. So I got out of it altogether. So everybody else who's thinking about starting something on the side, please, for the love of God, go do it on the side. Get that business up enough until that income is replacing the current money you're making, and then leap and then go for it. Because that September and October were financially some of the scariest months of my life ever. We had a little bit of money saved back, but when you're 100% living on money that you've put in a piggy bank to for later times, and you don't have other income coming in, that's a scary spot to be. And now you're having to sell from an act of desperation. And when you sell from desperation, everybody knows it, and everybody else can feel it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that's true. So when you say you teach people how to get out of their own way, what is it that you tell them?
You know,
How did you get out of your own way? I mean, it
oh,
sounds like
thank you for
you just
that.
kind of woke up and took the bull by the horns and took a big leap of faith and you landed on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of
But
that, but
then
I
you,
think, um, can you still hear me?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I had a phone call come in. Sorry. One of the things that I said it's very surprising becoming a business owner is what I found is in the marketplace that I was in. I have a very strong brand and I'm known as a sales guy, and in my area. So one of the things I found is I'd created a persona, and it wasn't actually a strong reflection of who I am. So in this process, and what's made me successful is really about learning to get authentic, and real. And so I'm using that a lot in teaching people how to go further in life, because the more real and authentic you are in whatever you do, the more your people show up, and the more you can do the things you want to do. When we use sales, because I talk about it a lot, is most people in a sales career shouldn't be in sales in the first place. They don't like it, they hate it, but they don't like the idea of sitting behind a desk. They don't like the idea of working a typical 8 to 5. So sales is kind of their out, if you will, in their career, but they are scared to death to go do prospecting, cold calls, and all this stuff, so it hangs them up. So in that scenario, what I teach them is, if you will just be your authentic self, if you will just put that naked version of yourself, and I'm not talking about being physically naked, I'm just talking about putting that raw self out there, your people will show up. But people are so in this mode that they got to wear this mask out in the public eye, that they've got to be somebody else, that they don't know which story they're supposed to be portraying as they move through life. So I teach people how to take off the mask, how to be authentically through themselves, and I teach things through journaling, through masterminds, through coaching processes, and I teach people how to take risk, make decisions. These are all things that people suck at. People are scared to take a risk. They're scared to make decisions because, they don't want to take responsibility for their life. They would rather blame everybody else for their shortcomings. Which another thing I learned since I've opened my own business. I have nobody to blame but my damn self anymore. As I've gone through my journey, if my sales were in a slump or whatever else, it was very easy. I could say, well, marketing sucks, or I'm not prospecting well enough, or these chamber events suck, or whatever's going on, or the crowd sucked at that particular event. Not enough people. Well, the bottom line is none of those things sucked. It was all me. But I had that out. Now, as I have my own business, there's no out, right? I can't blame anybody else. It's 100% my fault, good, bad, or ugly. I mean, if we win a deal and things go right, it's my fault. If we lose a deal and things go wrong, it's my fault. And taking that ownership through this whole process has been huge for me.
Well, so let's back up for a second. So when we first started, you said that if you didn't go to the you went to the Army, right?
Marines. It's okay.
Sorry. Let's back up for a second. A little earlier, you said you went to the Marines, and if you hadn't gone to the Marines, you might end up in the slammer or some other thing. Why is that? And why do you think that might have been true? And what shifted you? Was it the Marines and the discipline and the whole experience there?
That's a really cool question. So, um, you know, right before I went in the Marine Corps, I was doing a lot of stupid shit. I was, stealing hood ornaments off cars, stealing car radios. I was getting in deeper with alcohol and toying around with drugs at that point and getting crazy in that world. So, my older brother had gone in the Marine Corps, and I had no idea what the hell to do with my life. And I decided, all right, well, if the Marine Corps is working for him, well, hell, I'll just go that direction as well. So I jumped in the Marine Corps, and I really be honest, I can't say I was that guy that was going to be Mr. Patriotic. I'm doing it for the love of God and country or anything like that. I was doing it because I had no freaking clue what the hell I was doing in my life. So I had no expectations of what the Marine Corps was going to be like. I mean, you watch things on movies and whatnot, but nothing prepares you for what you're about to get into. The reason I think it saved my life is it gave me no choices, right? I didn't have the ability to think for myself because somebody was always telling me what to do, where to go, where to be, and there was consequences, and those consequences sometimes were physical, so, sometimes were mental, and I don't want to act like the Marine Corps beat the shit out of me, but it did mentally put up a fight, and made me grow up in some senses. Even though once I realized I got out, I still wasn't as grown up as I thought I was. But I think it was the fact that there was people that had a bigger chip on their shoulder that could see me for who I was and could knock that chip off my shoulder. And I wasn't the Billy Badass that I thought I was.
So does that tie in to what you do now in terms of teaching people to be their authentic selves? Is that
Yeah, and I think what people love about coming to me is I am, and I hate the phrase brutally honest because it's so overused, and most people who say it are bullshitting. They're not brutally honest. But I think that's the reason people come to me is I have no problem telling somebody they're being a freaking idiot. Probably a lot stronger language. I just cleaned it up for you. Um, but I sat across from a gentleman today that came to me, and he's in his late 50s, and he's gone through some medical problems. He had a great, successful sales management career, once upon a time. And now, after he survived his medical, treatments, this, that, and the other, he's trying to get back into the sales management game. And he's been through several interviews, and nobody's hiring him. And he brought me his resume and everything else, and I said, I don't need your resume. He goes, well, I need help on the resume. I said, no, dude, you don't need help on your resume. You need to pull your head out of your ass and suck it up and let's go find a job. And he goes, what the hell do you mean? I said, dude, you're going after these jobs expecting to make $90,000 to $150,000 a year when your ass hasn't worked in 3 or 4 years. I said, you haven't gone back and eaten enough shit and done enough things to warrant or rate that stuff. You need to go and start over. And he goes, what do you mean by start over? I said, you're not going to walk back into, a sales management career making that kind of money. You need to go find a job that makes $50,000 or $60,000, and then you can go work your ass off, climb that rung, and then go for it. He goes, son of a bitch, nobody else has said that to me. And I said, because everybody else wants to sugarcoat it around you, or you're not listening to what people are telling you close to you. And he goes, well, how do I do that? And I said, dude, what's fun? And he goes, well, I love being around sports. I'm like, good. There's probably 50 bajillion small sports teams around us. Why don't you go walk up to any one of those and say, are you hiring? He goes, they'll probably hire me for the concession stand. I said, good. And he goes, what do you mean, good? I said, I bet they have a corporate ladder. And he goes, what do you mean they have a corporate ladder? I'm like, now you got at least a place to climb. I said, how much money are you making right now? And he goes, none. I said, how much money you can make if you freaking were passing a hot dog over a damn stand and making $2, per hot dog? He goes, probably 10, $12 an hour. And I said, it's more than money than you're making right now. And let me guess, the games are mainly once or twice a week or on the weekends. The rest of the time, you can go continue looking for a real damn job while you suck it up and go get around a sport you love, looking for something you may rather enjoy. Quit being so high and mighty and so prideful. And he walked away from that conversation, and he sent me a text not too long ago that he did just land a job as a maintenance manager at one of the smaller AAA teams, just because he walked up and said, "Hey, you hiring for anything?" And a lot of times, people are not used to that raw, response coming from somebody, but you don't look at a guy like me and say, hey, can you help me get to here? No, I can't help you get anywhere. I can help you pull your head out of your ass, and help you go forward, but I can't help you get anywhere. You got to do the work in the lifting yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And so who do you think might have been the biggest influence in your life?
Oh, wow. My father, for sure. Uh, Unique thing about my pops is, um, dad's been one of those guys that he's gone through life and he's never had the strongest self-esteem. He's never been the most confident guy, but dad's always provided for the family. I mean, it's been amazing to watch. I mean, my dad had a shit childhood, with a mentally and physically abusive father and brother, um, and he never learned how to fully tackle life. Well, one time when we were young, that dude tackled life, convinced the family that we were done living in Kansas, moved us all to Texas, and it changed our lives forever. And that tenacity and that badassery that he displayed, to have the gumption to move the entire family and change the trajectory of all of our lives, that's probably the most inspirational thing that I've ever been around, to this day.
I love the badassery comment. That's cute. That's a good one. So what guides your life? Do you have a particular philosophy other than being your authentic self, of course?
I just, for me, it's 100% just be you. The world will adjust. you know People are so hung up on they've got to please other people, and I'm sick of, as society as a whole, because one side tells you got to act this way, the other side tells you got to act this way. I say give them all the finger and just be your damn self. The more crazy you are, as long as it's legal, um, the more your people are going to show up and go for it. So the only thing that guides me is a moral compass, of how do I legitimately grow my business and hit people with real strategy, real tactics, and real things that they can deploy in their life, as they continue to move forward.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about what kind of internal fears or obstacles that you might have had to overcome
Oh,
along
and
the
still
way.
overcoming probably. For me, it's what the hell do I do as a business owner is probably the biggest thing that kicks my ass. You know, every I've always been the guy that's been a part of the decisions, when running a company, whether because of my sales performance, or I was in a business partnership, or I helped start a couple nonprofits, those type of things. I never had to make the solo calls that much. So now it's all on me. And I've learned quickly in my business that although I make very, very fast decisions, to the angst of my CPA and my attorney sometimes, uh, um, they're not always the best decisions, and it's because I don't have enough experience in the realm. I'm really of the mindset that if I see it, cool, let's do it, and we'll pick up the pieces later. Well, that's cost me money a couple times in running this business, but I've had some great wins along the way. Like even starting my podcast, it was a complete whim. I was a guest on somebody's show, and they said, "Donnie, you should start your own." I said, "Okay, let's start my own," not knowing what the hell I was doing. And I immediately said, "Okay, I'm going to do an episode every day of the week and launch this thing out there." Well, God, I had no idea how much work that was. And it took me into doing 10 episodes before I had to, hire out and bring in a guy to handle the editing. And so I can handle the things I'm good at, which caused more overhead. And my show's still producing no income. So, which means I got to go get more coaching clients and more speaking engagements and the like to cover all these costs. So for me, everything's just this massive learning process. And I wonder if I will write a check so big my ass can't cash it. I haven't done it yet, but I've got a huge event coming up in September. I'm got a speaking engagement in Dublin and Shannon, Ireland, so I'll be out there. And there's some investment that goes along with that. So that could be one of those big turning things. It could go really well or go really bad. I social media scares the shit out of me, not because of I'm worried about what the content that is out there. I'm worried if I'm doing it right enough, big enough, loud enough. Am I on the right platforms?
Oh, that's so funny to me, especially after listening to you talk about just be who you are.
Oh,
and the crowd will show up, because you need to take your own advice there, right?
You're right. You're 100% right. And the trick is it moves so damn fast. And I get frustrated in am I in the right arenas? I mean, are my people on Instagram or are they on Facebook? Or God forbid they're on LinkedIn. I hate that platform. But I embrace it. Not well, but I embrace it. Or are they on Snapchat? Are they on Vero? Are they on Musically? I mean, there's just so many out there that I overthink it. So that slows me down a little bit, because
Which is so funny to me too, because if you go back to the beginning of our chat, you jumped ship with no parachute more than once in your lifetime.
Yep.
And yet this little piece here has got you confronted, which I think is very interesting.
Well, it's because I've done the same thing on each one of these platforms. I mean, I've dove 100% in on all these platforms. I mean, my Instagram account, in 3 months, I have 8,000 followers.
Wow.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing with it. I've got a Facebook group with like 500 members in it.
That's where you need to hire out.
Yeah. So that's going to be the next move. And there it is. There's the biggest fear I have is staff, because articulating my vision is not a strong suit of mine. And I think that holds me back in some arenas. The guy who's doing my audio work for my podcast, money, spot on. I can say, Joe, I need this, rock and roll. He comes back. He's like, what do you think? Money, perfect. Let's go. And I just sent him over a thing. I said, hey, can we put this little tweak in the back end? Not a problem. Already edited. It's beautiful. I love that. But in experiences in the past, I'm not always able to articulate, and I have to have people that work with me that read my mind. Yeah, get me. It's a good way of putting it. Right. Yeah. Right. So, but then you have to have enough engagement and revenue coming in to now, because now you're supporting somebody else's life as well.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I love this whole, business owner thing too. It's been nothing but a learning process for me as well, in a lot of different arenas, technologically, socially, podcast, a whole deal. It's really an awesome experience. I really, I don't imagine what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing what I'm doing. What do you think would happen to you if you didn't go to the
God.
now that yeah.
I mean, now that I've been out on my own, there's no way in hell I could ever go back and work for somebody. I don't think anybody would ever allow me to come back to work for them. I'm such in my own mind, a rebel at this point. Um, I was recently a part of a board conglomerate, this big thing, and at the end of it, and this was like an 8-month program, leadership program. At the end of it, everybody on the team was supposed to write something, nice on this index card about every other member. And one of the guys on my card just wrote "Holy shit." That was his response about me. And I'm a guy that if I feel it, I say it. And you put me in a situation where there's a lot of bureaucracy and nobody's making a decision, I'm going to throw my 2 cents out there loud. And he was just not used to a guy like that. He meant nothing rude or anything by it. He's like, Donnie, I never knew what the hell was going to come out of your mouth. And I love that, and I own that. But man, if I went back and tried to one, I would do everything I've done the same exact way. The only thing that I would have done differently is started sooner, and I hear that from a lot of my guests on my shows. Is if I would have started sooner, the better and greater the lessons I would have learned. I have no regrets. I had a couple of careers that I can't necessarily point back to and said these furthered, my career. Dairy Queen and Taco Bueno being one of those, but I can't say they taught me a whole lot as part of my journey. But a lot of my careers I can lean back on and go, those experiences help me figure out, where I'm at now and where I'm going and what I'm doing.
Well, of course, I got a 16-year-old boy, and he doesn't like to do a lot. He doesn't have a lot of self-motivation for much
right.
And the typical 16-year-old video gamer. He does really well in school and he doesn't do much else.
Okay.
And I said, look, you need a job.
Tell him to go start a Twitch channel.
Oh God.
I'm 100% serious. I don't have kids, so take this perspective as a guy who does not have kids. I've got nieces and nephews, okay? My brother was talking to his niece the other day, and she looked right at him and said, "Dad, I want to get a job." And his response was, "Honey, I spent 24 years in the Marine Corps." My brother, "I spent 24 years in the Marine Corps so you could go to college." And he's like, "You are not working through high school. You're not working through college." And I looked at my brother and said, "You're a freaking idiot." And he goes, "What?" He goes, "I'm talking to my daughter." And I said, "Yeah, you're being an idiot." And he goes, "You don't have kids." And I said, "I know." I said, "But what experiences did you learn along your ride, about working?" And I know you worked Waffle House and McDonald's through most of your high school. He was a short-ordered chef before he went in the Marine Corps. And I said, what experiences did you learn that process that would be invaluable for her work along the way? He goes, "Well, first thing she would have learned is to never work at a fast food restaurant." I'm like, "Well, there you go. It's a great experience to learn, right?" So I pulled her aside later, and my brother doesn't know this. I will send him this podcast so he gets to hear it. And I sat with her and I said, you need to find something to do. I mean, I think you should go get a job, and just piss off your parents, but that's me. I said, but you need to go find something you can do that you can learn something. Don't go just get a job to get a job. Don't get a job just to make money. Go get a skill set that you can learn and use later in life. I said, you got kids that are playing games on Twitch, and she's not a big gamer. She's your bookworm, band geek, love her to death. And her group, just to brag on her, literally is the international champions of the world in this particular style of playing in band. And it combines basically dance and theater and band all in one. And it's Azle High School, and they literally took the international grand championships of the whole thing. It was badass. But she's that type of a gal that, she's needs to head that direction. And I told her about Twitch, and she didn't know which Twitch was. And I said, man, you got these kids that her parents are screaming at them, get off their games, put down the phones, this, that, and the other. And these kids have people from all over the world watching them play. My youngest niece, second youngest niece, will literally sit on her computer and watch YouTube videos or Twitch videos of these kids playing games for hours. And that kid that has that video is making millions of dollars because all these kids are watching them play. So if your boy likes to play video games, tell him to make a living at it. You know, hell, there's esport players that are making millions of dollars playing e-games. You know, let them go have fun. Don't discourage, push them, and do like I do: throw them straight off the damn cliff and see if they can fly.
There you go, right? So, okay. So, what one piece of advice would you give anyone listening to Life Illuminated today?
Quit bullshitting yourself, right? Quit lying to yourself. Quit trying to convince everybody you're more badass than you are. Take complete ownership of your life and really start working. Most people are half-assing it through life. They're working to plateau. I know I did it for 40 years. You know, I worked to get to that spot to where I'd be like, now I don't have to work anymore, right? So work, actually do the work, or get okay at the level you're at and quit beating yourself up because you're not making millions.
Good. I like that. That sounds like great advice. Now, where can people learn more about you, Donnie?
Well, obviously, I'm on every piece of social media on the face of the earth. Still don't know what the hell to do with it, but I'm there. So on Instagram, it's Donnie.Boivin, Boivin. Website is DonnieBoivin.com. I'm on Twitter at Donnie Boivin. I have a private Facebook group called Success Champ, where I do some live videos, put out a ton of content. Mainly just could be a smart ass with a lot of people I know, which is a lot of fun. You can LinkedIn, I'm on there. My podcast is Donnie Success Champions. You can find that there. The show that went today was just so awesome. But I mean, I just like you, Maggie. I really get people to tell their story and open it up and just get real and authentic, and then help them walk others through the journey. So well done today.
Thanks. And we're very grateful to have you today, Donnie. It's been great to get to know you, and I look forward to maybe having you come back again in the future.
Absolutely, love to.
Yeah. And in the meantime, here's to living a life illuminated.
I love that. I love that.
Take care.
All right, honey.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah.